Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's Academy Radar, Kloppzone, and it's Ash and G in the building. How are we doing? G, Academy Radar. We're ready to break it down, talking all things Academy. How's your week been, G? It's been a long week, right?
Oh, mate, I'm surprised these people ain't sick of seeing our faces, to be honest with you, every single day. But we working, people. We working, bringing you guys latest news, views, and opinions. We're right here.
Opinions. We want to bring you Academy. It's not just about the men's first team, but we will relate it to the men's first team today. But before we get involved, we've got to run the intro because that gets everybody hyped. So let's get it. We're back again. It's Academy Radar, and like we always do before we kick the shows off, we like to see who's in the building. So, Mr. Righty, I nearly said your first name again. You know what I'm like, Andrade. You're trying to trick me out, you people. But Righty's back in the building. Good morning, man. I was just about to text you and tell you how Liverpool is some. Do you know what? So true. Liverpool is some. Shake my head. I think is that the shake my head emoji, G? I think it is. Well, every time I put SMH, that comes up. So I'm sure that's the shake my head.
Okay.
I'm sure it is. Morning says Andy Vernari. Yes, Andy. Cammy. This is the show for Cammy, by the way. People, ladies and gentlemen, get over to Scousers Rising right now on Instagram because that's where the Academy news is at. Cammy, part of the Kloppzone team, running Scousers Rising account. Get over there, support Cammy because he loves the Academy news. Ellis38 back in the building. How are y'all doing today?
We good, man. We
good. Meant to say today. I don't think it's meant to say, but
it's early morning. Don't worry.
We'll let you off. Hope everyone's doing one. Latif, yes. Do you know what we did right before the show? I'll tell everyone, G, before we begin. We guessed who would be in the live, okay? We guessed. My bet was Latif was in there, okay? So my bet was Latif, and I think G, you said Cammy in it.
I said Cammy. Say Cammy.
So
Cammy's my guy.
We know our followers, but it's great to have Righty back. Ellis as well. Ellis is on every stream. Andy Vernari. So it's so nice to see everybody in the building today. We're going to break down the Academy. We're going to talk who would you cop from the Klopp's Academy of the Cops. Nah, that doesn't work.
There's too many Ks.
Doesn't work. Too many Ks. But we're going to talk all things Academy. Let's start then with the latest game. Let's take a look at, I don't know, should we go 21? Should we go 18s? What do you think, G?
Let's go 18s to 21s, and then we can dive ourselves into...
Okay, let's go 18s. 18s. Bad start. I'm not going to lie, G. Bad start. It was a 2-1 against Leeds United in Leeds' favour at Leeds. But the lineup, let me run through the lineup because we had Kumas up front, then we had Doak, Doherty. Like, we've got kind of a system now. We've got a team that we know regulars playing every week. So we've got Kumas, Doak, Doherty. We've got Young, McConnell, and Onanuga. I need to get that. It's too early. Onanuga in midfield. Then a defence of Jima, Hayes Green, Miles, Osborne, and Hewitson. Not the best result, G. I'm not going to lie. Nope. But we had 10 shots, 6 on target, 58% possession. So maybe we should have done a little bit better with that one.
100%, man. I think this season feels like it's going to be a weird one. I think even more so for the under 18s than the 21s. just because of how they've changed the 23s to 21s now. So the 18s are starting to get. There's a few players in there that you're probably sitting there thinking, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? But I do think it's going to be a bit of a tricky one this season. I don't see too much movement from 18s to like 21s this season, so much so.
Yeah, last season there was so much first
Like
team,
juggling around.
21s. Well, it was 23s last season. So much juggling around. But this season we're seeing that it looks like each age group is going to have that team, that squad to work with for the season. Which, do you think that's better? Do you think it's better to have one group of players working together all season, or do you like it, the fact that the jumping and experiencing different levels of football? Which would you prefer?
It's tricky, man. It's so tricky. The way I look at it is, if you're good enough, you jump up. Of course you do. There's no point staying at 18 level if you can play at the 21s. But I would like for us to have a bit more of a settled academy now. I think there's too much. Klopp likes to bring a lot of players to just, experience what it's like being in and around the first team. And I don't find that beneficial if you're not really going to put them in games and stuff like that. Keep them all together. And if I'm being honest, and I don't like comparing, when I look at like Chelsea, Manchester City, and Arsenal, when I look at how they run their academies, they all kind of come up as groups. So you look at Chelsea, for example, you had the Mason Mounts, the Tomores, the Abrahams, the Gays. All of those guys came kind of in and around the same time. Look at them now. Do you get? I mean, I feel like it's a lot more beneficial doing it like that as a team. We all grow together, and then we get into first team football if you can.
It's so true. Going back to the 18s, though, we've got a comment here, and this is so true. Venari missing Oakley, missing Oakley. Oakley's in the 21s, but it's difficult now because he's got competition. You've got Leighton Stewart, who's been out for ages. He's potentially starting. So we'll talk about the 21s and Oakley's chances of getting regular game time in the 21s this season. But the 18s, Oakley's replacement was Kumas. Kumas was banging goals in last week. He got he got four. He got 4 goals last week. This week, not on the score sheet, but Doak was. That front line with Kumas leading the way. Then we've got Kane Doherty, who came in this season. Ben Doak, who came in last season. All linked to be proper stars in the game. Signed to do the job. Do you think that front three is what might drag the under-18s through
Ben Doak
this season?
Ben Doak is the one that I'm keeping an eye on. I feel like he's coming in with
the goal this week as well.
I feel like he's the one who's coming in with I was going to say reputation, but he's the one that I feel, as Latif said, he is having a great start, and I think he's the one that keep your eye out for. If the 18s are going to have a successful season, keep an eye out for Ben Doak this season.
Keep an eye out for Ben Doak. Cammy says the ref wasn't the best. Do you know what? He wasn't. The standard of reffing is a shout, to be fair.
Especially at that level.
Yeah, at that level, it's not scrutinised as well. So referees can make these decisions, not get any scrutiny, no hindsight and reflective decisions. Is that good in a player's development, though, to have that resilience, to be able to just go, do you know what? The referees might not be that level, but we've got to get on with the game and ignore what's going on with the officiators.
I think, it's a bit of both, man. It's a bit of both because, I mean, I remember when we were covering some of the games for like Academy Radar last season, and you see some of the decisions and you're just like, what is, like, really? You could never have those kind of decisions in the Premier League. But we got to understand, as you said, it's not scrutinized. There's no coverage of it anywhere. So it's like, if no one's really focusing on it, they're going to get away with a lot more than they would do in Premier League terms, kind of thing. So I think the players have to start realizing that and understanding that as well, that it is a bit of a different culture, academy to first team.
Do you know what's crazy about the 18s as well, G, this year? There's only 2 players, 3 if you count Huitson, but Huitson was in the 16s last season. There's only 2 players from last year's team in this 18 side. You've got McConnell and you've got Miles. So it's going to be a staggered start. It's going to be hard to hit the ground running. But is this a big season for the likes of McConnell and Miles? Because last season, I felt like McConnell played well. Miles has always been a leader. Is
Mhm.
this a chance for them to go, right, I'm too good for the 18s now, maybe give me a shout further up?
Yeah, and especially don't want to go too much into it, but especially with like the first team and the transition that's seemingly kind of happening in the first team with like a lot more younger players getting in there. I do think genuinely for the academy sides, it's a big season. You really need to do well as a unit, especially, but you need to do well individually this year because there are little movements that may potentially happen. There's a lot of injuries going on. So I feel that this season, if there was ever a time for you to show what you can do, I feel like it's now. Especially anybody who's in central midfield. Hey, anybody, if you guys are doing anything this year, please let us know because we might need you at some point in the season.
100%. Who's your tip out of the 18s, G? When we look at the team, do you want me to
Mhm.
run through the team again? Who at St. Osborne, Miles, Hayes Green, Jima, Onanuga, McConnell, Ranel Young, Cone Doherty, Doak, and Kumas. Who's your tip to be flying this season? I know you just mentioned Doak, but is there anyone else that you want people to keep an eye out for?
Doak is going to be my player to kind of watch this season, just because I've seen him play and the pace that he's got. Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
he would burn. Even though I'm a bit older, he would burn me out like there's no tomorrow. If not him, maybe Miles, and that's just purely because he has experience.
Yeah.
So I feel that with that experience, you'll be able to kind of help the other lads. If I'm being all the new lads, all the new guys in the team, I feel like with that experience, he'll be able to kind of help them in that kind of aspect. So maybe Miles, kind of thing. And we said last season as well, guys, don't even look at the player that is obviously the talented one. Obviously, we know who the talented players are. Don't necessarily look at those players. Look elsewhere because, as we've said so many times, it's about the opportunity. If there's a space for you, you may be able to get in there. So I feel like there could be maybe one or two surprises who I'm not even thinking of.
The proof's in the pudding as well, isn't it? Like Liverpool, and we've seen it. Chambers getting chances in the first team going on pre-season. Bobby Clark getting chances going with the.
Mhm.
It's the players that kind of work hard and contribute more to the team performance rather than the ones that take all the headlines that normally get the chances.
Yeah, 100%. We don't really move like I said, like a Man City and all of these kind of teams who obviously they've got so many talented players, so they're able to kind of pick and choose. Like as who is it? Andy Renari was saying, like Miles could be a good shout because we do love a midfield leader. Do you get what I mean? So it could be those type of attributes that will get seen by Jurgen Klopp, as opposed to a Ben Doak who probably will score however many goals. Do you get what I mean? A
It's
bit like
interesting that you
yeah.
said a midfield leader then, because obviously we know Miles is a centre back, but
Mm.
he's got traits, hasn't he? Where further on in his career, he's strong, he's physical, really good on the ball. He could potentially move up into a midfield position. We've seen that from academy players. They're normally used in different ways when it comes to senior football.
And that's why I said, even when Andy mentioned about midfield, I don't actually see him being a centre back. I generally don't see it because I feel with that leadership, big up Andre. I feel like with that leadership and with the skills that he possesses, I actually think he would be a defensive midfielder, if not central midfielder. Him
Yeah.
playing centre back, I feel that's just more down to just availability players and stuff like that. So, but watch out! I guarantee you'll start seeing him in midfield very soon.
100%. A player I want to give a shout out to, Ranel Young. He's come in this season and he looks like that number 10 who can get forward, get goals. Someone who, like we're saying at Liverpool, that's what we need in the first team. Someone who can run from midfield, get in behind, link up with the strikers, drift wide if needed to. He's been crucial, I think, and been the one that's flown under the radar so far this season for the under 18s
Hmm.
because the likes of Trent, the likes of Kumas, the likes of Doak, they're getting all the plaudits and the headlines and the goals. Ranel Young, very underrated, playing so well in that team. So I would say to people, keep a lookout for Ranel. He's coming. He's coming this season.
Man like Ranel.
Man like Ranel. Let me pin this up from
like
Ellis. Did you see Tyler Morton played centre-back and he bossed it? Do you know what? It's so frustrating. He might have bossed it because he's that level. He is good enough to... He's good enough to be in the Premier League right now. I don't know why he's gone to Blackburn. He should be at a Premier League club. Anyway, this is what frustrates me, G. Why have we sent a box-to-box central midfielder to the Championship to get crucial experience in the position we want him to get experience in, and the guy's playing centre-back? He's never a Premier League centre-back in his life.
Nope.
So why is this happening? It's so frustrating. Why is he not at Liverpool right now playing in central midfield? Because I'm telling you now, last game would have cried for Tyler Morton at right central midfield.
All I'm going to say on that, I'm going to give Blackburn a bye for one game. If I see it again, that will be problematic. I'll give them the bye. I think they needed to throw him in at centre-back anyway. Just due to I can't remember what actually happened during the game, but something happened during the game where he had to go centre back. So I'll give him the bye. Yes, Ellis, he did boss it. I mean, I admit it, apparently he did boss it, but I don't want to see him at centre back. He could never even smell centre back at Liverpool. So, and he's not a centre back. I don't gain confidence from him at that position. Do you get what I mean? Like, I feel like he is best served in midfield. And as you said, bro, we are crying out for someone on that right central midfield side. Tyler Morton, there you go. Do you get what I mean? There you go. So I don't want to see him there again.
I never want to see him there again. Let's pin this from Camilo. Connor Bradley as well, before we move on to the 21s game. Connor Bradley is played attacking midfield, right wing, right back. Again, he's a right back. Give my boy, who's gone out on loan, the position that he should be playing. I know he can play. Connor Bradley could play striker in the Championship. But that's not what we've done. We've sent him there to develop as a right back. Stop it, Bolton. And you're round the corner from me. Don't make me come and start kicking the door down and slapping some people. I'll hijack. I'll do? I'll kidnap Connor Bradley, mask over his, you know what I mean? Get him in the back of the van and take him to Anfield. Treat him with respect.
We do not promote violence here at Kloppzone.
But Connor Bradley, we're screaming out for him as well because Trent ain't pulling his weight at the minute. Give Connor the run out. But oh no, guess where Connor Bradley is a Bolton for no reason. It's playing frustrating me, G.
It's what okay, let me ask you this. What happens here? We'll use Tyler Morton and Connor Bradley. What happens if they keep Connor Bradley at Tyler Morton at centre back for the rest of the season and he plays well? And Connor Bradley at Bolton, they keep him at right wing. What does that then mean moving forward?
For the Liverpool career, I'll tell you what that means. It means the career's over because Connor Bradley's never getting a place over Mo Salah at right wing. And Tyler Morton, I'm sorry, but centre-back, just don't sign for Liverpool if you're centre-back because there's no chance you're getting in the squad. So it's ridiculous because they might have gone out on loan for this crucial experience. And at the end of the day, they might come back having played a different position all season and completely out the loop then. Morton, I felt like, was that close, G, to first team. If you had to choose right now, who would you have rather gone out on loan this season? Tyler Morton or Harvey Elliott?
Harvey Elliott.
Exactly. And why?
Elliott. Just because Harvey Elliott Harvey Elliott only to a Premier League level team, by the way, not Blackburn in the Championship.
Yeah.
He would have to go to Premier League because he needs that experience, purely because we're an elite club. These players are not at that level, which is absolutely fine, by the way. I'm not saying they have to be. But if they want to try and get in this team and help us in the way that we need the help, we need them playing at a higher level than they are currently, instead of Harvey Elliott's kind of, which I feel sorry for him, he's kind of in a mess at the moment. You know, he's within this mess that we're currently in. He's not going to develop this season, I don't think. I think he's going to be exactly the same. I can't see him getting any better this season.
I feel like we're just doing everything wrong at the minute. These decisions, I feel like we're making rash decisions, thinking that's the right thing for the player, and it's not. Like, Conor Bradley, he has been bossing it at Bolton. Like,
Yes.
look, I've watched the highlights of the Championship. I've watched the highlights from Bolton. I've been following Conor Bradley's Instagram, Twitter. Bolton fans, because I live in Bolton, I'm telling you now, this guy they rate so highly. He's doing a madness right now in the Championship. I think back to back 2 weeks in the Team of the Week, like he's scoring goals, creating assists. This is what we said this last season on Academy Radar, that Conor Bradley is ready to step up to Liverpool's first team.
Yeah.
But guess what happens? We let Nico go, we let Connor go, we bring in Ramsey, and Ramsey's swanning around in London. Is he injured? Is he fit? We don't know, but guess where he isn't? At the training ground, training, trying to get back in the first team, G.
Bro, you're gonna make me mad. You're gonna make me mad. Because if I have to say the words again, I'm gonna get mad. But like, yeah, even just what you said there, I have to echo it. It's not making any sense. Like, it genuinely isn't making sense. And we're seeing clearly someone like Conor Bradley. Like, look, don't be fooled. Conor didn't like. He probably did need a loan, of course, because he needs the first team experience, 100%. It's just the way that the club have done it. You've left yourself with no other right back, like actual right back. I'm not talking Joe Gomez. I'm not talking James Milner, who are not right backs. They can just play there. So there's a difference. I want an actual right back at the club, so who can help out Trent and give him a rest, because he has been absolute garbage at the moment. So Conor Bradley could have easily have come in there, play the kids. Like, I actually want to see the kids now. Genuinely, I want to see the kids.
I want to see academy players, and this is why I've done this show today, because coming up we've got Badgertich, Chambers, Vandenberg and Clark. 4 players that were on the bench for last game. We want to discuss whether they do have a chance and why we think they should get a chance this season in Jurgen Klopp's team. So stay in for that. You get involved as well. We want to know who you would like to put in there. But let's go to, I just want to highlight this first before we move on. Leighton Clarkson as well. I think he only knows how to shoot from outside the box. Look, Clarkson, another player, banging in goals, like having the time of his life. All these academy players we've let go, we could have done with them this season. Central midfield players. I know Conor Bradley's not, but Clarkson, one that was tipped for greatness too. It's upsetting, but let's move on, G, because before, like you said, we'll get angry. Let's talk about the under 21. So, ended up 1-0 winners versus Blackburn Rovers. Max Voltman on the score sheet.
Mr. Voltman.
Mr. Voltman was on the score sheet, mate. This was the lineup for the game. Davis, Mabea, Kwanzaa. Now, you'll know some of these names as well. So if you're watching and you're not familiar with the academy, you'll have heard some of these names now floating in and around the first team. So Davis, Mabea, Kwanzaa, Jonas, Chambers, Bacetich, Frauendorf, Kane, Clark, Voltman, and Cannoneer.
My boy.
Cannoneer getting the start.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he could tear up the under-21 scene this season? Or do you think he's showing so far that it's not quite as easy as everyone thinks, stepping up and playing with the big boys? You want a bomba?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Compose myself. So, kind of it. Now, on a level, I think we're early, so I'll give him a bly. But again, he needs to understand as well. This isn't under 18s football. This is not under 18s, my friend, where you could be probably getting a lot of 16-year-olds, potentially 15-year-olds who are playing in that level. So for someone of that age, obviously you can tear that league up. Now we're getting into a bit of the one step away from the first team. So we're seeing players from other teams who are even close to their first team squad. Do you get what I mean? So you're going to see whether he can really make it or not. If I'm being honest, I have faith in him. I do have faith in him.
Yeah. Vandenberg looks solid for a poor Preston side. This is so true. We're going to get into that a little bit later. This is an interesting one. Harvey Davis, goalkeeper. He was on the bench the other night. Should he just take Adrian's spot? Because what's Adrian doing, G? Like, I feel like he's a cheerleader or a morale booster or something. Do you know what I mean?
We seem to have a lot of those at this club. Players who never play but pick up insane amount of wages at this club. I don't know what Adrian's wage actually is off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure I'd rather just give that to someone else. Maybe we could have used some of that to potentially keep Mane. Who knows?
Who knows? Under 21s are playing tonight versus Tottenham. If you have time, LFC TV, please watch the lads. This is it. We need to support our academy team. Get over, watch the boys tonight. If you're not watching, please tune into Kloppzone because we're going to be collaborating with Scotia's Rising and Cameron. We're going to bring you the starting lineup, the result, the stats. And speaking of the stats, G, last match for the under 21s, 18 shots, 7 on target, 71% possession. This is a theme at Liverpool, I think, G.
I was just about to say.
Dominating possession, having lots of chances, not as many on target, not getting the goals we should be. It's becoming a theme at Liverpool, and it worries me a little bit that this is carrying on in the academy as well. Do we need to bring Mickey Owen back, Robbie Fowler? Should we get these people back in the club and show people what it takes to be clinical again?
Cheeky. It's kind of becoming a theme, and I don't know why, because we seem to be dominating the ball. Now, whether we're dominating the ball in areas that actually matter, or we're just, faffing about at the back, we're dominating the ball. We seem to lack a cutting edge at Liverpool Football Club. I don't know what it is at the moment. We really are lacking it.
We really are. And Ellis is saying, is Jota back next week talking of being clinical? We don't know when anyone's back. That's the truth, Ellis. We don't know when anybody's back. The club are being secretive. They're saying like, oh, soon. When soon? Because you keep saying soon. You said soon 3 weeks ago. In fact, with Calvin Ramsey, you said soon in pre-season. We still ain't seen him. We need to know when these play. Like, what's going on that you're hiding? Are these injuries bad? Are they coming into training and then getting injured again? Are they recurring? We need a bit more clarity. And I know it's nothing to do with the fans, this injury business, but when we're playing so bad, when questions are being asked, surely we should know it looks like it's 6 weeks. It looks like it's 5 weeks. That's all they've got to say, G.
I don't honestly. Liverpool are like it's like the CIA sometimes with any form of, bro. Like James Bond must really work here, because the way that we move with any type of news, it's like they're trying to. I feel what Liverpool actually tried to do is they don't want to give people any type of advantage by knowing exactly what's going on at the club. That's fine, and I do get that to a certain degree. But guys, man, like, we're talking about injuries. It's not going to make any difference whether we know the player's injured or not. Do you get what I mean? Like, yes, I can understand transfer news. Okay, fair enough. You don't want people to know. But this is injury. We have no idea. Jurgen Klopp came out one random day to say that this guy was injured. So what's happening to him? I expect to know exactly what's going on with the player, because now what happens is there becomes a perception about these players. Straight away, before we've even seen Calvin Ramsey, there's a perception about him now.
Yeah.
Who is this guy? Is he even good? He's already injured. Is he going to get into the first? Like, he doesn't need that. He's already, trying to make his way at Liverpool Football Club. Let's give him a bit more support. But I don't feel the club really do enough with all of these kind of things, if I'm being honest with you.
I completely agree with you on that one. And on that note, that's the 21s. They're playing tonight. Make sure you get over. Now, it's more about, G, who's going to step up? We know we've got problems in the first team this season. Who can step up? Who can make the grade? Now, when we look at the starting lineup for the 21s from last game, we're talking about players like Mabea, who featured in pre-season, Davis, Kwanzaa, Chambers, Bajcetic, Frauendorf, who for some reason played centre-forward for the first team, but he's a central midfield player, so that was interesting. Bobby Clark. That's 7 players from this team, or 6 players from this team, who have had that taste of being around the first team. Do you think any of them, if you're being completely honest with yourself, right, G, and we're being honest with the followers, because that's what matters, being honest with our fans who might not watch the academy, do you think any of these players on this starting 11 list from last game for the 21s are ready and good enough to play for our first team. And if there's someone that's not been around them, any player, it doesn't have to be someone that's been in and around the first team.
The only one, and I actually don't even think he's even ready. I just want him to play because we need him, is Bajcetic.
Yeah.
The rest are not ready. I don't feel like they could come into a first team. Bajcetic isn't ready for first team Liverpool football, but he's maybe ready to come in, be obviously on the bench, and maybe come on every now and again, and let's see how he does. Anyone else? Kwanzaa, I feel so sorry for, man. I actually genuinely feel sorry for him because I think he's really, really good, but we ain't going to see him at all. Nah, that's it. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Andy's saying maybe Voltman. I think Voltman, yes, he got a goal last game, but I think to be in Liverpool's first team, you've got to have that special quality. Bajcetic is so calm on the ball. His distribution's good. His positional. He's physical as well. So that's his strength. Whereas Voltman doesn't really have that kind of one dynamic strength about him. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Do you know another player I want to shout out, though, is Luke Chambers.
Yeah.
I genuinely think...
I know you like him.
I genuinely think that Luke Chambers, and it's not a case of I just like him, I like the way he plays. He wasn't on my radar. Owen Beck was on my radar. But then the more I watch the academy, the more that I'm hearing Chambers is in and around Liverpool's first team, training with the senior squad. Chambers in England under 19s it was, who won the Euros. He's a dead ball specialist. He can play centre-back. He's very aware of his surroundings, a leader as well, someone who potentially could become a Liverpool captain in the future. I think this is the type of player that normally gets opportunities at Liverpool. And with the way Robbo's playing at the minute, I'd give Tsimikas a chance. But in the cup games, I'd love to see Chambers in there. In fact, it's not even I'd love to. In cup games, let me tell you now, when the cup comes around, I want to see Kelleher, I'm not going to lie. I want to see Ramsey at right back. I want to see Kwanzaa in there getting game time. I want to see Chambers at left back. I want to see Bajcetic getting some game time. And I want to see Frauendorf. Maybe Bobby Clark. These players should be getting game time.
They need it.
Vandenberg, too old. I say too old. Not eligible to play for the 21s because of his age.
Yeah.
Permanent first team player now. Did okay last season at Preston, but it's a different level. Would you give him a chance? Would you give him an opportunity? And what position do you think he's going to come in at, G?
He can only go at right back. I can't see him at centre back. So that's the only position. I mean, he was on the bench against United. Jesus. I think with players like him, he's an, you know what it is? With players like him, he's like Reece Williams. The position that they're in and the level that they are at this current moment in time, it's going to be difficult for them to make squads. It's going to be like, well, to make the team. Look, they'll make the squad, obviously, like he did. But for them to get into the first team, I don't see it. Now, we can say, yeah, they're okay and all of that, but I don't want okay anymore. We need to be having quality youngsters on the, like Fabio Carvalho, like Harvey Elliott, like Curtis Jones. You know, these are quality youngsters. So those guys are fine. But when you're talking Vandenberg, he falls below that. And yeah, he did all right at Preston, but Preston are not a team that I would hold in any level of, you know, high regard. So again, him doing well at Preston, the only way I'll probably notice it is if he got 50 assists, you know, something crazy where you're like, wow, this guy really does have to play, you know, or he's got to put in 10 out of 10s every single week.
Because that's what Bradley's going to have to do in it this season. And that's Seth didn't really do that.
Yeah, so and I don't want to be harsh. Yeah, I don't want to be harsh. And again, it sounds like I'm being really, really harsh with these youngsters, but we've got to hold them at the highest. We have to hold them. The minimum level is Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho. That's minimum. That is the bare minimum that you need to be at if you're trying to make it. Because look who's in front of you. Trent. He's a world-class player.
Yeah.
If you're below, even the level of our Fabio Carvalho and all of those guys, how do you expect to get into the team? How do you expect to get there? So for me, I know we've got injuries and stuff. I probably would have sold him this year, if I'm being honest with you, so that he can go and have a career and potentially even develop even more. Put a buyback clause, and then we would have been good to go.
You love these buyback clauses, don't you,
Yeah, I like
TG?
him.
And
I
be
like him.
throwing buyback clauses in left, right, and centre. Cammy saying Lee Jonas before he got a massive injury. Lee Jonas, if anyone's not seen him play, he plays just like Joel Matip. Great on the
Yeah.
ball, likes to adventure forward, positionally strong, defensively strong. There could be a big future for him. The only disadvantage he's got is his height, I feel. For a centre back playing Premier League football, we've seen it with Lisandro Martinez at United. Height can be a problem, but he plays just like Joel Matip. We've got Bogdan saying just Morton and Stewart stayed this season in the team with Voltman. He's saying Voltman. Andy, catch you later, bro. Rashan, nice to see you back in the building. Rashan saying, I really wish Mujalovsky gets on the foot. This is such a point, isn't it? Mujalovsky. Everyone talks about Mujalovsky. Look, Mujalovsky even getting in the under-21s, under-18s teams.
Exactly.
So if he's not getting in those teams, he's not going to be getting a first-team call-up anytime soon. It's a
What do you
strange
think's
one,
happened
isn't
with
it?
him?
It's an example, isn't it, G, of talent sometimes isn't everything. Well, all the time, talent isn't everything in football.
He can't, as Cammy says, he just can't keep fit. And unfortunately, if you can't keep fit at this level, mate, you are not going to have a career here. I don't really, how talented you are is probably even irrelevant now, because you can't stay fit. We have a problem with that at this club, seemingly. So I feel we as fans, and I see like all the comments and stuff like that, guys, we've got to hold our players to higher standards. If we don't do that, we're always going to accept the bare minimum from these players. And it's always going to be the same dross that are coming through. And then everyone's going to turn around and complain that we've got dross in the team. Where we're complaining because these are the players that, you want to see. You guys keep, bringing up certain names. And it's like, Bogdan here, talking about Seth Vandenberg. I hope that's a joke because we all know that will never, ever happen. So, things like that. I understand your optimism, so to speak, but think with your head, are these guys really of that level? No. So, we've got to hold these guys to higher standard, really, really high standards.
And that's why it's hard for a youngster coming to Liverpool to
Yeah.
just break into the squad is hard. And then when you're in the squad, to maintain a place is even harder. Look at Carvalho. These are perfect examples.
Exactly.
Like Themba saying Carvalho's one for the future. He's so special. Exactly. He's so special. He's got the grit. He's got the talent. He's got the determination. His head's screwed on. And he can't even get in our team right now when we've got so many injuries.
Exactly.
It's worrying that are they not being given a chance or are they just not good enough? That's what worries me. But
which one, if you had to lean to one side as an overall, I'm not going to pick out any names, but overall, if you had to lean to one side, which is it? Is it either they're not being given a chance or they're not good enough?
In the case of Carvalho, in the case of Carvalho, he's not been given a chance. We know he's good enough. We've seen it. I've seen enough now to know he's good enough. We've seen him in pre-season. We've seen him come on in games and change the game. He's good enough. But it's a case of, does he fit our system? And I listened to Talksport the other day, and Steve Warnock was on.
Okay.
Not Steve Warnock, Neil Warnock, manager, ex-Sheffield United manager. Neil Warnock was on. And he said he's had some top-class, world-class players before who were talented. They had the drive. They had the desire. There was nothing wrong with them at all, but they just didn't fit his system for his team. So he couldn't play them. Is this what we're seeing at Liverpool, that these players might be ready? Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Carvalho, these players might be ready, but it's just a case of they don't fit Klopp's system, and Klopp is religious to his system. Klopp is a worshipper of this system. This system's never going to change.
The Bible.
So, as an academy player, do you try and develop your game to fit into this system? Or do you stay true to yourself and hope that your talent, your drive, your work ethic gives you that opportunity or gives you that move away from the club to a team that does suit your system? What would you do if you're an academy player now?
Obviously, knowing everything I know now, if I was to come at it like from that, you know, I'll use my son, for example.
Yeah.
If he was to get into the academy or anything like that, I'm not of the mentality. I don't really care if we make it at Liverpool. That's probably the most irrelevant thing. We are here to make it at football. That is the most important thing. You must try and make it at football, because the reality is you're probably not going to make it at the club that you've been coming through anyway. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a career elsewhere. That doesn't mean that Tomori had to look at his whole time at Chelsea like a failure. He's now an England international who plays for one of the biggest clubs in world football. And he had to leave Chelsea to do that. So these are the things that when I look at those things, I love it. I absolutely love it, because it shows someone who wasn't scared to say, you know what? I love Chelsea. It's my club. You know, I've been here since I was, 8 years old and all these things, but I'm not necessarily going to make it here. But guess what now? Chelsea probably could do with Tomori at this present moment in time, the way they're trying to buy centre backs.
So good.
Funny how life goes in swings and roundabouts.
That's
so
what's going to come. Go on, G. Carry on. Go on.
No, I was just saying, like, I always think with those situations, don't worry about the club that you're at. You worry about yourself, and if you can develop as a football player, and if you can develop into a professional football player, that is key. Don't worry about where you are and all these kind of silly things.
I think that's the thing that might come back and bite Liverpool in the butt. The Tomori situation. If Liverpool maybe let Harvey go, Curtis go, there'll come a point in the future where it's like those players are flying, but Liverpool were just too stubborn to fit them into the system.
Yeah.
I've told you how much everybody knows. I don't need to tell anyone how much I love Curtis Jones, and I think he's a great footballer.
You like Curtis Jones?
Yeah, just a bit. Just a little.
Okay.
Just a dash. Just
I
a dash.
I thought you like Harvey Elliott. Fair enough.
But if I sat down with Curtis Jones today and I spoke to him, because I respect our players, like I think what Liverpool is, we get a certain feeling towards players and managers that other clubs don't.
Of course.
We do fall in love with players, and even Gini Wijnaldum moving. Yes, he wanted the move, but you want him to succeed because you've been a part of Liverpool, you've given to us, and you look at what's happening to him now, you just want him back. That's why Liverpool fans always call for, bring Coutinho back, bring Suarez back, bring Wijnaldum back. Always. But what I'd say to Curtis Jones, if I sat down with him now, because I care about his development, leave Liverpool, bro. Because I'm telling you now, you're not going to get, 1, the game time you deserve, 2, played in the position you should be played in, and 3, other players are going to come in and just surpass you. Naby Keita's getting played ahead of you, and he's injured half the season.
Facts.
That says it all. He's never going to get this first team place. I was hoping he would, but looking at it now, it's just not going to happen. Look at what Curtis does for England under 21s, G. Look at what Harvey does. Harvey played at right wing. Curtis played as an attacking, free-roaming midfielder. They tear up trees. It might be a different level, but they're still playing against some good players.
Yeah.
Because France under 21s is dangerous, by the way.
It's like the first team.
Like, so many teams are dangerous. So this is why Curtis leave. Bellingham, don't come to Liverpool. I'll say it now. Click me if you want to. Jude, don't come, because we will mute your personality, your confidence. Like, he's got so much swag, by the way, Bellingham. He needs to go to a team where he can express himself, not a team that's going to go, run, chase, run, cover for Trent. Imagine being £100 million signing and all you're doing is covering Trent because everyone thinks Trent's the star boy. Do you know what I mean? But that's rant over. We love new followers coming into the stream. This is why I've pinned this up here. Jason, First time we've seen you in the show, speaking facts. These are the type of guys we love in our shows. Seth Vandenberg is just not good enough. It's simple as that. Time to move on. Curtis Jones needs to play with more freedom. We need a midfielder who can drive with the ball. This is Curtis, but the system's not suiting him. We agree with you 100%. It's hard work, G. It's hard work. But let's have a look through some of these comments because we've got a lot coming in. So let's have a look at some of these comments before we do the part of the show that we like to call Klopp That. One player that we would move up into the senior squad for maybe the upcoming game, maybe for the season. But we'll have a look at that in a minute after we've pinned some comments. So let's get to this. We've got Cammy. I get like 20 messages a day. When's Muzilowski not in the lineup? Like, everyone loves him, but a lot of people put a lot of pressure on him. Pressure as an academy player. That's the big one. I think pressure is the biggest telltale sign. Can you handle that pressure? Think how many people come in as prospects. Woodburn, Brewster, Solanke. They can't deliver. The only reason they can't deliver is pressure, and they can't handle the pressure. How do you simulate that in academy football? Is there a way to do it, or do you just think it's just to give them first team chances? That's the only way you can replicate the atmospheres, the pressures, and everything else.
Only certain players, certain young players have that in them, where they can just take to the pressure. If we're going to go all the way back, Trent. If you go back before Trent, you look at obviously Stevie G being the last kind of player. Some players can take to it like duck to water. Do you get what I mean? So for them, they're the ones that, they're going to have an absolutely long career, playing football, whether it's at Liverpool or not, they're going to have a long career. Some players, you can tell straight away, you're not going to have as high as careers you probably were dubbed to have, like a Ryan Brewster, like a Solanke, like a Ben Woodburn. All those players, I thought maybe they were going to be, they were tearing it up. Brewster, oh my God, that guy was tearing it up in the academy. And at the current moment in time, I feel like he has regressed massively as a football player. Where he goes from here, I don't know. Obviously, if he's still at Sheffield United playing championship football, then he's all right because he's only one step away from the Premier League. But some players can do it, but you do need to just give them that experience. How are you going to know? We won't know until we actually see him. We didn't know that Solanke was not going to be good until we saw him play. Brewster, we didn't know until we saw him play. Woodburn, we didn't know until we saw him play. Sending these players on loan is good. I do agree with it at times. But the problem is, if you don't really think that they're good enough, why are you keeping them around? That's the bit that really worries me.
It's the proof is in the pudding with these players. Like Solanke's doing well now at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Like scoring goals. Hopefully he gets a run in the Premier League. Is it a case of Klopp being stubborn and too loyal? Of course it's a case of Klopp being too stubborn. It's what we've been saying all season now. Look at Ryan Kent, says Jedi. Is it Jedi? Like Jedi? I need to know.
Maybe Jedi, because Jedi would have been.
It could be Geddy. We never know. It could be Geddy. Look at Ryan Kent at Rangers. Exactly. Imagine if Ryan Kent stayed in Liverpool's academy, and G uses this word a lot, rotting. Imagine if he stayed in Liverpool's academy and was rotting right now. He's thriving at Rangers in the Champions League. This is why Curtis Jones needs to move away, because Liverpool's system sometimes does not cater for these players who might have good careers elsewhere. But I feel like when people think they're at Liverpool, it's the be-all and end-all. Yeah. Like, especially if you're a local lad, Curtis, local lad, he's happy just staying in the team. But you've got to think about yourself sometimes. You've got to be selfish. You've got to throw loyalties to one side. Be a Liverpool fan, but you've got to put your career first. Do you know what I mean? Like if Manchester United came to us, G, and said, will you present for Old Trafford television? It hurt me a bit. I'm thinking about this.
I'm sorry, but your team is bloody off.
But for professional reasons, that's a great opportunity. That's a stepping stone. So 100%. You've got to do these things. And I dropped Liverpool in there a few times and big them up just to wind United fans up. But you've got to do these things. This is a great one. Muzilowski being dubbed the Polish Messi, that's just not helping his development. Pressure again, isn't it? Like we hear it all the time. The Welsh Perlo, or what is it? The Welsh Xavi, or whatever it was with Joe Allen.
Oh,
We
dude.
look at Polish Messi, the next Zidane from Bruno Cheru. Like
Oh my
all
God,
these
Bruno.
players, do you know what I mean? Like that are getting dubbed this next player, David Ngo, Thierry Henry. Like, come on.
If
Is
you
that
look
what
at
the problem is? Neil Mellor, Michael Owen. It just happens everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
bro, you are
Is that
throwing out some
is
names.
that a Liverpool thing, do you think? Do you think Liverpool players want to see these legends back? Like when we say Curtis Jones, oh, the next Stevie G, comparing him with Gerrard straight away. Like, why are you not now comparing Bajcetic with Stevie G? Or why are you not comparing someone else to him? Is it because he's Scouse and he's followed the same path? Koinonia is going to get the same as the Michael Owen links.
Mm,
Is it a
if
Liverpool thing, or do you think we see it worldwide?
we probably it does happen a little bit worldwide. I will definitely say that, but I think at Liverpool it is something because I don't really hear Chelsea saying, "Oh, where's the next Didier Drogba?" Or I don't hear any Arsenal. Maybe there is, so someone probably would tell me now, but I can't remember. And I follow Arsenal's youth teams quite a lot. I don't hear anybody say this person is the next Thierry Henry. Their greatest striker. I've not heard anyone say that. Ian Wright. I've not heard anyone say nothing to, oh, the next Dennis Bergkamp. Yeah, they might play like these players, but I never hear anyone saying that's the next. At Liverpool, we seem to. The thing is, I love the uniqueness that we have, but sometimes I think we are a bit too much. It's like, you know, when you love something a bit too much, it now becomes a little bit like, yo, you need to back off a little bit. And I do think
Yeah.
with Liverpool as a whole, as I said, our fans are unique, and I get that. But I do think that our fans are a little bit blindsided at times when we think about Liverpool players with how they rate them against other players of other teams. I look at Chelsea. I just sent in the group today, the group chat, and you saw. Look at the players that Chelsea have signed. All young players, but these are top quality young. Amari Hutchinson, Chuck. I don't know what his full name is, but Chuck from Aston Villa, and there's another guy from Inter Milan. All
Chukwuma
born, I
McKenzie
think.
or something.
I'm gonna call him Chuck.
Yeah,
they,
you roll with Chuck.
they got all of those players. Yes, they're super young, but those are quality players. But guess what? As I said in the group chat, they're not going to play this season. They're not here to play. They're here to come to the club. Potentially might stay here for one season just to learn the trade and everything like that. But they're going to go out on loan, guaranteed, and they're going to go out on loan somewhere where they can develop. But they're doing this with the forefront. We seem to buy all of these players, try and put them in the first team, or we're buying really, really young players like your Ben Doaks, your Kai Gordons, and stuff like that. Where is Kai Gordon?
Yeah.
Haven't seen him for
He's with
ages.
Ramsey. Probably with Ramsey,
Oh,
swanning it up in Piccadilly Circus, enjoying the lights. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. These youngsters need to snap on for me. Like, if I'm injured, and I know you need a life, right? You need a life. But if I'm injured, especially if I've just come to the club, I'm not even walking around I am doing everything I can to get into this team because the
100%.
fans want to see you. The team at the minute is in disarray, so you've got a chance to get in the team. I'd be in the gym. I'd be looking at videos. I'd be doing everything. You need that obsessive mentality, G, these days to win. I feel like a lot of youngsters now are like, do you know what? I've got the contract. It's a job. I'll do what I've got to do. And then I've got a life. I get you get a life. You've got to have a life. But it's different in football. Football is different to working a 9 to 5. You've
Right.
got to be obsessed with it. You've got to be doing more than the person that is challenging you for your place. And at the minute, what I'm seeing from certain players, and again, Jason alludes to this, a lazy atmosphere in camp. Trent, Virgil, not playing with enough aggression or desire. This is so true. When the youngsters look at this, you think they're going to come on the pitch and start barking orders, and they're not the type of player that will do that. That's why big up James Milner last game for getting in Virgil's face, because Virgil needs that slap right now. And youngsters look at this, like Virgil's the pinnacle, Trent is the pinnacle. For Ramsey, Trent's the pinnacle. If Trent's just going, yeah, my defensive responsibilities, yeah, I'll try and get an assist. Other players are going to model their game on this. It's a bad kind of, I'm seeing this kind of cogs ticking over and it's going to creep into everybody's game. I just hope we will pick it up. We're talking about elite players, Trent, Virgil, elite players. They'll switch it back on at some point. But it's just when youngsters are looking at you, they might not switch it back on. They might look at you when you're switched off and think, we can have a few games, bad games here and there. It's a strange one for me, G, a very strange one.
I just don't. I'm so astonished. Like, I'm sorry, but these players are not serial winners. You have nothing to be complacent about. I'm sorry, but you haven't won everything like that in terms of multiple times. You've won it once. The complacency shouldn't even come in until, if I'm being honest, Trent shouldn't get to the age 28 to 29 before he starts getting complacent. You're 23, 24 soon. I'm sorry, but come with that. I agree, by the way, with that comment, which is why I'm a bit annoyed now, because I'm sitting there thinking, as you said, these players look up to you. You guys are not serial winners, so maybe you buck up your ideas and become serial winners first, and then maybe you can have a little bit of a downtime when players have seen you play 5 to 10 years, highest level, winning trophies. Then you have not every right, because you should still continue, but players will understand a bit more. These players haven't done that, so I'm confused as to how they feel that they can even remotely think they can be complacent. They've got a lot, and I do mean a severe amount of work to do before we even get to that complacency level, so that the youngsters who are coming through do not see that. I don't want to see complacency till you're too old. James Milner should be the only player who should actually be complacent, and he's been probably one of our better players this season at 37. It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. What Jason said here is so true, isn't it? Because Cade Gordon has got the attributes to be a regular starter. When he came into the side, even the game that he didn't score, and he still looks sharp. He looks sharp. He looks like he wants a goal. He's got desire to get in the box. We need to nurture him. We don't need to now start going, Cade, where are you? Because injuries happen. I get that. And we are jumping on that. Cade, come on, bro. Where you at? We're not saying Cade needs to train hard and needs to do anything, because I've not seen Cade Gordon doing anything other than being at AXA Training Centre. He's always there. And he's the type of player for me who could be a star in the future. Yeah. Do you give Cade the chance straight away, though, now, when he comes back in? Because to me, he is the one who's under Mo Salah for me. When you look at natural right wingers, there's no one else in the squad. Maybe people say Harvey Elliott, but Cade Gordon, for me, should be the successor now to Mo Salah. But would you just put him back in the 18s, 21s to get his fitness up? Or is it a case of, again, you've got to train with the first team, stay with the first team, get first team experience. Otherwise, his progression is going to start being a digression or a regression, whatever the word is. It's an aggression, something.
I think, when it comes to Cade Gordon, he's quite young. So he's luckily got time on his side. But he's a unique player. If I'm being honest, if he was at any of the other academies, I reckon he'd probably be, if he was at Arsenal, for example, he'd be in the first team. Easily. Why? Because they have a clear progression plan for their young players. We don't seem to have a clear progression plan. That's the issue. So youngsters who do come here, probably reason why, and I think you mentioned this on one of our other academy radars, Bajcetic was nowhere to be seen last season.
Yeah.
Like nowhere. All of a sudden, he's on the bench against United. What do we say about Jake Kane? He's just gone off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And he was a player that we both looked at and thought, yo, he's the next one up. Leighton Clarkson looks, even though he's out on loan doing okay, he looks further from the first team. There doesn't seem to be a real progression plan here. So again, worries me a little bit that we're not even seeing a progression plan for some of these young players. Is there a way into the first team for these young players? And I don't mean Klopp bloody getting them to train there for 2 days and then go back. No, I actually mean, do you have plans for these young players to play first team football? Ready or not, here I come. We kind of need to see that. I'm not seeing it. And I'm just a little worried with the academy setup at this current moment in time. I don't think it's a good academy setup. I think we have good players in there, and there are a lot of players who, if done properly, could make it into the first team. Not all of them, but a few of them. I'm just not really happy with what I'm seeing, if I'm being honest with you, man.
Do you know what worries me more than anything as well? And I've put this subs back up from the last game against United. Last season, in Liverpool's academies, you would think 18s, the progression for that is 21s or 23s. The progression for that then is senior football. When I look at the bench, Bacetic, not around Liverpool last season. Vandenberg at a different club last season. Bobby Clark in the under-18s last season. Harvey Davis, under-18s last season. What does that say for the likes of maybe a Jack Bean, a James Norris, when Clark's getting the game time? What's it say for Frauendorf? What's it say for the likes of Morton? I know Morton's out on loan, but then you've got all these other players who have that experience at 23s, 21s, and then players just come from out of nowhere or from the 18s and overtake you. Like Pitaluga was doing loads last season. I know he's gone out on loan, but then now Davis is the successor. He's in the first team squad. Does this have a good impression for our academy players now? If they're on this under-21 squad, why are they not getting the chances? Because last season, Norris and Bean, I'm sorry, they played unbelievable in the under-21. So why is Clark, who did play well in the 18s, why has Clark been able to go on pre-season, been able to get in this first team? Are they seeing something different, or is it a case of Klopp it's kind of just like you've got a sweet jar and you're just putting your hand in, picking a sweet out and going, right, they'll do for today's game. I don't understand the progression within the academy system, G.
I agree. I think it's a bit of both. I think they could be seeing something different, which is totally understandable in terms of the player, maybe the profile that they need for a certain position. Because I'm looking at that bench. I mean, the two goalkeepers thing, that really pisses me off. Because there should never in the history of football be a situation where you have two goalkeepers. It's impossible. You literally have how many players? Like, I don't even understand why you would have two. Like, that for me is probably the biggest thing I saw about that bench. You've got two goalkeepers. So that means you've left out Voltman, you've left out Frauendorf, you've left out Mabea, you've left out so many players, and that's just the 21s. Yeah. I'm not even talking about the 18s. That's just 21s for two goalkeepers. That tells you all you need to know about this academy, that clearly there is no progression plan from when we are putting two goalkeepers on the bench. Like, are you trying to tell me that even I couldn't have sat on that bench instead and come on as a right winger just to help out the team? You know what I mean? Like, all of these little things are things that if you don't understand, what's really going on, you won't even take notice of that. I had people asking me, who's Davis? And I saw he's a goalkeeper. Someone then said to me, but isn't Adnan a goalkeeper? They were like, I was like, yeah, why have you got two goalkeepers? I don't know. I actually don't know why we put two goalkeepers there. As you said, it could be a case of that where Klopp's just picking, choosing. Maybe some players are being told that maybe this week you're going to be in the bench. Next week I'm going to put such and such on the bench. For what reason?
That
I don't
just
know.
shows like there's no plan. That's what frustrates me. There's no plan, no progression. Like, you're putting Frauendorf in pre-season against Salzburg as a centre forward.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Voltman, Stewart, Cannoneer, all these players that are actually centre forwards that are actually playing well in your academy, and then you just put in a central midfielder at centre forward who's from the. I'd understand if it was Oxlade-Chamberlain playing at centre forward who's played senior football forever, but you're playing someone who's not got experience out of their position for the senior team when players who play that position have been playing well for the academy team. I just don't. There's no plan. There's no progression. We talk about dynasty, G. There's no inkling whatsoever. Like, how many players has Klopp from the academy actually got into this senior squad on a regular basis? Two? We can't
Yeah.
count Elliot. I don't count Elliot
No.
because Elliot was bought to be a first-team player, in my opinion.
And he was part of Fulham's academy, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I can't even really say he was ours. You know what? I'm actually trying to run through the names, and all I can think of is Trent.
And
Like
Jones?
you can say Joe, yeah, and Jones, but then we don't even know if Jones is going to be able to kind of cut it here. I personally don't think Jurgen Klopp is a good manager for young players. Personally, I don't think
That's
he
two
does well
players, G. What we've just said. 2 players in
in 9
7
years.
years.
Oh, 7 years. Sorry, 7 years. That's embarrassing. That is quite embarrassing.
2 players.
And
From your
remember, we're not a
academy.
club who sign who spend money as it is. If we were a club like Man City who spend hella money on first team players, I would even understand. I would say, you know what, we do buy a lot of first. We don't even spend money, so you don't even bring youth players up. You're not spending money. I don't want to say the words, but yeah,
It's so bad. Like, I'm thinking about you're not even putting youth players in and around the first team. You use Reece Williams, and I don't want to hear people say he brought Reece Williams for you. He didn't. That's the only choice he had.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
only choice we had.
And look where he is now.
Maybe Tyler Morton we can put into that bracket, maybe. But again, why did Tyler Morton come into the team? Because it's the only choice he had.
You know what? For those who haven't, I'm not going to spoil it too much because I'd rather you guys check it out for yourselves. Pep Yinders alludes to this in his book where he speaks.
Oh my God. Don't even talk about this insanity. That's what I started calling it, insanity, because it's not intensity, it's absolute insanity. But tell them, G, I'm just turning my speaker off for a second because I can't hear this crap anymore.
But yeah, no, Pep really honed in on, there was like a section in there where he spoke about Trent Alexander-Arnold, and it's like, is that the only player that you guys can even like? You have to literally hold on to Trent because he's the only player that you have actually bought through. So yeah, I'll give you the clap for that. Curtis Jones, I'll give you the clap for that. I'll give it to you because you have brought them into the first team. But I'm sorry, but in 7 years, you've only had 2. Like, come on, man. Like, this is just becoming so embarrassing to talk about sometimes, man. Like, I'm seeing all these other clubs, like, and people are gonna say, "Well, Man City don't." Mate, Man City brought through Foden. Cole Palmer's now in the team. McAtee's now in the team. They've had numerous amounts of players who have been able to leave the club.
Look at Man City's academy as well. That's feeding Dortmund. You're looking at Sancho. You're looking at Musiala. Like, all these players that have been in their academy are actually succeeding elsewhere. Man City don't go, right, we need these players in our squad. What Man City do, they create stars to go on and feed other clubs with, but it's like Ajax academy.
Yeah.
That's what Man City want. They want this academy that generates these world-class players.
I want that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But Liverpool academy, who has left, right? Liverpool's academy and gone on to be a baller. The only player that I can say in my head right now, and he's not even a baller, is Connor Cody. The only player that's left Liverpool and started doing something. You're looking at Ryan Kent as a success story. Do you know what I mean? When Man City's success stories like Sancho, like all these, it worries me so
even
much.
This summer, I can't remember. There was 3 players Man City have let go. Southampton bought one. I think, was it Sunderland or Leicester are trying to buy another one. Like, there's been a lot of players. And again, look, we're not saying that every player that leaves Manchester City is going to be some amazing players. It's definitely not going to be that anyway. And the same at Ajax. Not every player that leaves Ajax from the academy is going to be an amazing player. But when you have such a conveyor belt of good players, where you're able to even, obviously that's Ajax's model to bring players through into the first team to then sell for profit later on. That's fine. And I'm not saying you have to adopt that kind of strategy, but it needs to be better than whatever the hell is going on here. I mean, I see Cammy saying he watched the under-21. Why? Why did he go and watch it?
This is what I wanted to say. This worries me more. This is more proof that we are not signing the midfielder. So get it out your heads. The only reason Klopp is watching the under-21s to see, right, who can I have for the time being until everybody gets back fit. That's the only reason Klopp was there last week. And I'm telling you now, against Bournemouth, we're going to see some academy midfielders in that team to see if they can cut the mustard. That's the only reason he was there, because Klopp never goes watching the 21s.
Latif's comment, 12:43. Those are the players. I was trying to remember the teams who it was, but look, Burnley. They're now at Burnley. Like Burnley are just in the Championship. These are young players who are going there. Again, it's the conveyor belt of players. So even if it's only these two players for the summer, let's just say, you continue doing that over time, you're gonna have a lot of young players who are playing at clubs who are now, you're starting to think, maybe I should sign him back. Maybe I can try and get him back. He's developed very well. He's been able to play first team football, developed his game under certain managers, Vincent Kompany as well. That's probably why they sold him to Burnley, because they know Vincent Kompany's style. And again, for planning, understanding, the teams. I can't remember who Liverpool affiliate club is. I feel like it's Tranmere Rovers. I can't remember. Still, Tranmere. Chelsea had Vitesse Arnhem from the Dutch league. A very good league, not the best team there, but a team that likes to play football. Chelsea used to send everybody there. Mason Mount, Van Ginkel, like Jesus. They used to just send everyone over to that thing. Why? Because that's what you do, because they play a style of football that kind of suits what you're trying to do at this current moment in time and will allow players to develop in a bit attributes that you might need in the first team. What are you going to learn at Tranmere Rovers? I like, no disrespect, but what the hell are you learning over there? Let's get a better affiliate. Let's get someone that we want to be able to model our game, or who should be modeling their game on what we do. It's nothing. It's just making no sense, man. Honestly.
No. And the players that should get chances, this is another point. Harry Wilson, he should have had a chance at Liverpool, but we let him go. This is the type of guy we need right now. Like,
because we don't rotate.
Someone who can play on the right, someone who can play inside midfield, someone who's a set piece specialist. You know what? I don't want to see Trent taking any more free kicks.
Who? But who though? Who's going to take it? There you go.
Give it to Virg.
No. Virgil can prove to me that he cannot shoot. I'm sorry. Whatever he used to do at Celtic, all the that was fake, because he seems to not be able to shoot to save his life.
It's so true. So true. Jay, do you know what? Before we round up the show, we need to do our Klopp that section. So Klopp that, lad. You know what I'm saying? Klopp that. So Klopp that section. For those of you that haven't watched the show before, the Klopp that section is we choose a player to be successful this week from the academy. So someone from the academy this week that might make a step up to the first team. They might play well for the 21s and catch the eye of Jurgen Klopp, but we take our pick on someone who's going to be a Klopp that choice this week. G, before you give me your Klopp that choice, I want everybody to know. Give me your Klopp that choices. Give me your choices in the comments, because we want to see what you think. Who should Jurgen Klopp be keeping his eye on this week to maybe feature in the weeks to come, to maybe start for Liverpool this week? There might be someone within there, just like this man, who may get his chance this week against Bournemouth. Maybe. But, G, who is your Klopp that pick of the day?
I'm not going to go with the obvious choice, because that's too easy. So, I'm going to actually... I'm not going to go with that one. I'm going to actually go with... And I did actually not slate him, but I cussed him during the pre-season because of his positional awareness. But I do think that Mabea might be someone that Klopp might look at for that right back slot, purely because going forward, now this is just because of how we play. If we didn't play the way we played, he'd probably be looking at Sepp Vandenberg, because he's a bit more defensively astute. But I feel like Mabea going forward, rapid, absolutely rapid. So I know if he does lose the ball, he can get back. You know what I mean? I'm a bit more confident he can get back as opposed to a Trent Alexander-Arnold who is not fast. So Mabea is going to be my one. He's going to be my guy to keep an eye on.
Isaac Mabea. That's a good choice, because if you think about it, we need that kind of right midfield, that right attacking style right back. There's no point.
We have no fast fullbacks.
But even if we say an attacking style, do we need an attacking style right back when we're letting goals in, G? We need someone who can defend. So I agree with you in that one. I think Mabea, that's a good shirt. I like what you've done with that one. It's a nice little shirt.
Because I would have
I'm
gone
not
Badger
going to go the obvious one either.
Yeah.
Chambers playing so well as well. A lot of people saying Chambers. Ellis is saying Gordon is he's still injured.
Yeah, he is.
It's heartbreaking. This week.
It's true, Khalifa. Okay, everyone is injured. I don't know what's going on at the club. No idea.
It's a tricky one for this week, but I'm gonna go with Frauendorf.
I knew he was gonna say that. I just knew.
I think with Frauendorf, if Klopp's been watching the 21s as well, he's the type of player who's physical, got the legs, but really good on the ball as well. He's played right back before. He's played right wing. So there's a lot of places and positions that he could slot nicely. I think he's one to watch for the future as well that could potentially get in there. So my pick is Frauendorf. That was Klopp that for this week. Klopp that. I love your northern accent. That's next show. I'm going to speak like you and you've got to speak like me for the next show. That's the one. That's the deal.
I've got to speak like you.
You've got to speak like me, mate. You know what I'm saying? Who's the academy centre forward saying Cave? We've got Leighton Stewart. We've got Bean Norris plays there.
Jesus Christ. We haven't even spoken about Leighton. Like, he's I know he had that injury, but Jesus, he is like, whew.
Yeah, Leighton Stewart was the one to watch as well. He still will be for this season, so stay tuned. Bogdan saying Voltman. I think Voltman's chance has passed. I'm not going to lie. He got a chance last season, didn't really capitalize on it. I think his chance has passed. Bogdan, can we borrow two? Do you know what? I'm telling you now.
Leanne
Kiernan would bag goals. Would bag goals in this team. Who else? Missy Bow, Kerry Holland.
Missy Bow.
These players in central midfield would do a job for Liverpool right now. Set piece specialist as well. Get them in. Speaking of the women's, ladies, I say ladies night, ladies mid-afternoon is going live today.
Got to read to it. Oh, I like it. Ladies mid-afternoon.
Rejig the system. Ladies mid-afternoon is going live today at 3 p.m. So make sure you tune in to Ladies Night. We've got an exclusive on the show as well. We're dropping an exclusive news from the club. You'll hear it here first over everywhere else in the world. So make sure you tune in. But G, it's been a pleasure again. Academy Radar. Let's hope we see more Academy players this season. That's all I'm going to say. Tune in today because the under-21s are playing. As Cammy said, follow Scotia's Rising. Follow Kloppzone because we'll bring you everything in and around the team. But G, until next time, as we always say, as we round out the show, you'll never walk alone. Peace, bro.